after this. So all attendees are muted right now. So if you do get the option to unmute yourself, please do not unmute yourself. So if you get the option to unmute yourself, yeah, don't unmute yourself. So we apologize. We cannot assist you with any technical issues at this time if they keep you from participating. Again, the webinar will be recorded and posted on the Benefit Administrator's website. Please use the question feature to send any questions throughout the webinar, and we will address questions throughout the presentation when appropriate. At the end of the presentation, in summary, we'll also address some questions that we can, and any questions that we don't address during the webinar will be addressed via either email, phone call, or through Fuse. If you have employee-related questions or scenarios, please send those through Fuse, and that's our 1-800 number for outreach and training there. So, Amanda, the presentation is yours.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope your week has been treating you well so far. Thanks for joining us. So today we're going to talk about preparing for the end of the school year. So we listened to you guys. Hopefully most of you got the presentation sent to you yesterday via email. I know there was a few late registrators, so you may not have gotten it. I apologize about that, but we did try to get that out to everybody yesterday. So hopefully that helps. And let's get to her. So first, we're just going to go over some reminders for things that you need to do as we near the end of the school year. So in SEBB My Account, there are a few things that we're going to ask you to do. So you're probably not super familiar with this organization profile tab, probably don't have to use it very often, but this is what it looks like here on the screen. And so what are the important things that we need you to do as we get near the end of the school year? Well, you need to enter the new first day of school for the next school year. We ask that you do this by August 1st, and it is something you're going to have to update every single year. And so I know what you're thinking, what happens if I don't do it by August 1st? Well, we need you to do it as soon as possible. You can even do it now. If it's a couple of days after August 1st, that's fine. But if you never were to update it, and in this example on the screen here, we have September 2nd of 2019 is the first day of school. So if we never went in and updated that, and here comes September 1st of this year, and we enter our newly eligible employees, that's going to tell the system that they don't get benefits until October 1st. So remember what our eligibility rules say and when coverage begins. If it's between September 1st and the first day of school, if the employee is eligible for benefits, their date of eligibility and the day coverage begins is on the same day. So just an example, if school started September 3rd and the employee's first day of work was September 1st, they were determined eligible September 1st, their benefits would begin September 1st. So the important thing we want to make sure is that we update that first day of school for the next school year. So if we have these scenarios of our newly eligible employees who their first day of work is between September 1st and the first day of school, we want their benefits to start on that same day. The other thing on this screen, we've been reminding you guys about this in our previous webinars, is to update your SEBB organization contacts. And this is actually the tab in SEBB My Account where you do that. So there are 4 options of contacts that you can upload. So the benefits specialist, payroll contacts, insurance and billing contacts, and even your superintendent. So important because people may leave your district or be coming into your SEBB organization. So want to make sure that we keep those contacts updated. And I'm sure you guys are familiar. We've talked about when somebody transfers. Once there's a little bit of updating in SEBB My Account, that functionality will be there to show you exactly who you could contact at each SEBB organization if you're having a transferring employee. So this is where you update your contacts. We ask that you please do this, get some contacts in there and update them as people do come and go from your SEBB organization. Another thing that may happen, Maybe you have a new benefits administrator coming into your SEBB organization, or you have people leaving. This is the form that you will fill out. It's called the Admin Appointment and Removal Form. You will want to fill this out. Your superintendent does need to be involved in this process. And once you have this completed, you can send it through Fuse for outreach and training to process. So that includes adding a new benefits administrator and removing any benefits administrators who are no longer going to be with your SEBB organization. So make sure you do this as you have people coming and going. What else would we need to do in SEBB My Account? Well, of course, we're going to be having employees who are either leaving our SEBB organization or not going to be eligible in the upcoming school year. We do actively have to go into SEBB My Account and terminate their coverage. It is not automatically ended in SEBB My Account on August 31st. So we do need to go into their profiles and end that coverage. In this example here, that 8/31 day. So remember, we do have to take action for those employees who are leaving our organization or are not going to be eligible for the upcoming school year. But what about our returning employees who are also going to be eligible next school year? Their benefit elections remain, right, until the end of the year, December 31st. So they don't get to make new elections. Their plans remain the same. Their FSA and DCAP contributions remain intact. But they will get an opportunity to make changes during the next open enrollment. So that's October 26th through November 23rd, and those open enrollment elections will be effective January 1st. So just because our employees are coming back to school starting September 1st does not provide them an opportunity to make changes to their coverage if they were eligible this school year and going to also be eligible next school year. No new elections at the start of the school year, but they will have that opportunity during open enrollment in October through November for those elections to be effective January 1st. There are some things that employees can do all year round, so we can enroll or change our supplemental long-term disability, life, and accidental death and dismemberment coverage, If there's a special open enrollment event, of course, we can do those all year round. And then if you have employees who are enrolled in that uniform medical plan, the high deductible health plan, they can make changes to their employee contributions into their health savings account. So that can be done at any time. They would just need to fill out the payroll deduction form and give that to you as the benefits administrator to make those adjustments on their accounts. All right, so for those of you who did receive the presentation and had a chance to look it over, you may have seen we're going to try something a little bit different today. We have been reviewing your guys' questions in the past webinars and decided to try to put it into some context, So really looking at some examples of situations that may arise as we approach the end of the school year. So let's take a look at some scenarios here. So our returning eligible school employees, they were eligible this year, they're going to be eligible in the next school year. So here we have Sharon. Sharon works for OMAC School District, and she's an eligible school employee enrolled in SEBB benefits this school year. Sharon is going to return to OMAC next school year. And Sharon is anticipated to work 630 hours in the next school year. So what does that mean? Uninterrupted coverage from year to year. Nothing that you as the benefits administrators need to do in SEBB My Account, nor does Sharon need to do anything in SEBB My Account. You do not need to provide a new worksheet. And Sharon does not get new elections. Again, during that open enrollment period, she can make a change to her coverage, and that would be effective January 1st. All right. How about somebody, a school employee who's not going to return the next school year? So here we have Tim. Tim is an eligible school employee, works at Granite Falls School District. Tim submitted his resignation with Granite Falls effective August 31st. That employer contribution towards his SEBB benefits will end August 31st. The benefits administrator does need to go into SEBB My account and actively terminate his coverage. You'll want to complete and provide that C3 worksheet to Tim. So those are the actions that you guys need to do as the benefits administrator. Now on the healthcare authority side, the SEBB program, based on when you go into SEBB My account and terminate Tim's coverage, once you have completed that task, then the SEBB program will mail Tim the SEBB continuation coverage election notice. So that booklet will have enrollment forms if he wants to enroll in COBRA or continuation coverage. And so that's something that the SEBB program does based on when you go into SEBB My account and submit the termination. Now, a lot of people have asked, how far out can I go in and terminate employees in SEBB My account? So if in this example, Tim's benefits are going to end August 31st. So we would go in, the earliest we could go into SEBB My account to complete that termination would be July 1st. So the month prior is as soon out as you can go in and submit that termination. And that means even if it was July 25th, so it's not necessarily a whole 2-month period, but it is the month prior to when that termination is going to be completed. So anytime in July or August for an August 31st date. All right, how about a couple retirement scenarios here? Here we have Bob. Bob decided to retire and is choosing to start receiving his pension benefit July 1st. So Bob is very kind and submits his letter of resignation very early in the year. The effective date of the resignation is June 17th. Bob's SEBB benefits will end at the end of June, last day of the month in which the resignation is effective. Again, you'll need to go into SEBB My account and terminate Bob's coverage with that June 30th date. You'll want to complete and provide this C4 worksheet to Bob. Goes over all of his options for retiree benefits and even talks about continuation coverage. So here you see I have the SEBB program is going to mail Bob the SEBB continuation coverage election notice. Well, why is that? He's retiring. It's a little confusing, right? But the program doesn't let me start that over. We don't necessarily know that Bob's going to enroll in PEB retiree coverage. We don't know what his plan is once he retires. So his SEBB benefits are ending at the end of June. And so we're mailing him that SEBB continuation coverage election notice with the opportunity to enroll in continuation coverage if he wishes. Now, in this circumstance, we said Bob's going to start his pension with DRS on July 1st, and we actually know that Bob decided to enroll in PEB retiree coverage effective July 1st. So we do not mail out a PEB retiree booklet to Bob upon his termination in SEBB My account. But it is something that Bob himself could call and ask for a PEB retiree booklet to be mailed to him, or you guys as the benefits administrators can order the PEB retiree booklets and have those on hand to provide to your employees who are retiring. And why is that important? Because when their SEBB benefits end, they have 60 days to enroll or defer with PEB retiree coverage. So they have only a 60-day window, which would start July 1st, to let the PEB retiree program know if they plan to enroll or defer coverage.
Hi, Amanda. We have just a few questions here. This is a good time to address some. So
Perfect.
one question was, do we separate a retiree on the separation date and not the August date that he receives his last check? Well, in the example that Amanda used here, if they plan on retiring July 1st, then you would separate them at the end of June and not wait till August when they receive their last check. And these slides have been emailed out yesterday to all participants that enrolled. If you enrolled at the last minute, sometime this morning or late evening, then you probably didn't get a copy of these, and we'll see what we can do to get those back out to you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Let's take a look at Charlie. And Charlie decided to retire and is choosing to start her pension September 1st. So Charlie, again, is super kind and very early in the year submits her letter of resignation with that effective date of August 31st. So those SEBB benefits will end August 31st. Again, you'll want to terminate that coverage in SEBB My Account. Provide Charlie that C4 worksheet. The SEBB program is going to mail out the continuation coverage election notice in case Charlie wants to maybe do COBRA for a little while before starting retiree benefits. Charlie starts her pension with DRS on September 1st. And in our example, she does choose to enroll in PEB retiree coverage with that 9/1 effective date. And she'll have 60 days to enroll or defer in PEB retiree coverage.
I think we have a few more questions here, Amanda. So here's one here. If an employee has met the 630 hours requirement and then resigns, do their benefits still end the last day of the month of their separation date? And that is correct. They end. So if an employee decides to retire on July 1st and they submit their resignation date, again, it's that termination of the relationship, and they decide to terminate on June 15th, then at the end of June, their coverage would end and they would start their retirement pension. And to order these PEB retiree books, you can go on the PEB website as a BA, and same thing as the SEBB website, you can order that under the Forms and Documents tab.
They can also send us a fuse and we can get those PEB retiree booklets ordered for you guys and mailed out.
Okay.
I think the important thing to note too is, remember, it's the effective date of the resignation. So it doesn't matter when they submit the letter, it is that effective date. So in our first example, if the effective date was June 17th, benefits in the last day of the month in which their resignation is effective. So that's the key message here.
That would address this question here. Our employees are paid through August, even if they retire in June. Again, it's an effective date. Whatever they put on that resignation, that's the date we're looking for. At the end of that month, that's when benefits end, even if they're paid through August. Okay.
All righty, let's move on to another one. Let's talk about some employees who are changing SEBB organizations. So here we have Jeff. Jeff is an eligible employee this school year at Auburn School District, enrolled in SEBB benefits. Now Jeff is one of your star employees, and he comes to your office and says, hey, I am leaving at the end of this school year and I'm going to work for Kent next school year. So he lets you know that he is moving to another school district. So Auburn School District, in this example, the benefits administrator is going to go into SEBB My Account in Jeff's profile and enter that transfer date of August 31st. And then Kent's BA will enter Jeff as a new subscriber. You enter that social security number and date of eligibility, and then you'll be able to claim his account. Now you're going to have to enter that eligibility reason, the hire date with your SEBB organization, and whether the position is represented or not. And Jeff is not going to have any new elections because he's a transfer. His coverage continues on. But again, we'll be able to make new elections during that open enrollment period from October to November with effective date of January 1st. Now we have Bethany. Bethany works for ESD 101, and she submits her letter of resignation with an effective date of June 15th. Bethany plans to move and to go to work for Vancouver School District effective July 27th. So Bethany's benefits would end June 30th, the last day of the month in which her resignation was effective. So benefits will end June 30th with ESD 101. Now Vancouver determines Bethany is not eligible. In this circumstance, Bethany starts work with Vancouver on July 27th. There's not 6 weeks left in the school year to be able to reach that mid-year hire rule of being anticipated to be compensated 17.5 hours in 6 of the last 8 weeks. So Vancouver says, I'm really sorry, Bethany, but you are not eligible for the remainder of this school year. Now she is anticipated to work 630 hours in the next school year. So the date of eligibility for Bethany would be the first day of work in the next school year. In this example, I know Vancouver School District's first day of school in the next school year is September 1st. So Bethany's benefits and date of eligibility would start September 1st. Now, this is important for employees to kind of understand that just because you leave one district and go to another district does not necessarily mean that you're going to be eligible when you move. And this is a good example of that because there's not 6 weeks to be able to meet that mid-year hire rule. And we can't stack hours between 2 different SEBB organizations. So the hours that she worked at ESD 101 would not transfer over to Vancouver.
I have another question here, Amanda. So the question is, I had trouble with the sound at the first few minutes of this webinar. If the first day of school is 9/8 and we have classified employees who begin 9/1, does anyone who starts between 9/1 and 9/8 have coverage effective 9/1? So if an employee comes on board anytime between 9/1 and 9/8, their coverage starts on that day, that first day of work. So if their first day of work is 9/5, then their coverage begins on 9/5. If it's 9/3, their coverage begins on 9/3. So anywhere between that 9/1 or September 1st and September 8th, their coverage begins and their date of eligibility is the same date of when their first day of work is. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that one. So let's look at another example. Here we have Teddy. Teddy works for Battleground School District, and Teddy submits her letter of resignation with an effective date of June 15th. Teddy is moving to Willow Public School effective July 1st. Willow Public School determines that Teddy is eligible on her first day of work because they said, yeah, we can anticipate that she'll be compensated 17.5 hours in 6 of those last 8 weeks in the school year. And we know that, yes, she is going to work 630 hours that in the next school year. So, yep, she's eligible on her first day of work. And this would be a transfer situation. So the old district would terminate her benefits, and the new district, Willow Public School, would enter her as a newly eligible subscriber in SEBB My Account and will be able to claim her record because it is a transfer situation. Teddy will receive uninterrupted coverage in that move from Battleground to Willow Public School. Teddy will not have new elections. I will say though, there is a little bit of a caveat here because it is moving from one location to another. So if Teddy is enrolled in a medical plan that's no longer available based on where she's moving, then that would allow her an opportunity to change her medical plan.
So that was great that you mentioned that, because we had a question about that wouldn't Jeff be able to make changes if where he was going didn't have the plan he was currently on? And again, that would allow you to make that change if that plan isn't available. Say as you're transferring from one SEBB org to another, and then that plan that you are currently on is not available at that new location, then that would allow you to change plans.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so we at the start of every school year ask ourselves, is this employee anticipated to work 630 hours in the school year? Yes or no, right? So we have our school employees who we said no to. They also didn't meet that 2-year look back criteria. And as we all know, the SEBB program has that rule stating, hey, somebody becomes eligible if they actually reach 630 hours worked. So how does that play into somebody like Karen? Karen works for Bremerton School District and was anticipated to only work 550 hours in the school year. Guess what? On August 5th, we see that she reaches 630 hours worked. Now, what I'm going to talk about is pending SEBB board approval. So there is a proposed resolution 2020-05 that I think the board is going to look at next week. So stay tuned for final approval. But as we know, what the rule says is when somebody reaches 630 hours worked, that is their date of eligibility, the day they reach 630 hours worked, and their benefits are effective the first of the following month. Here it's a little tricky because she reaches 630 hours worked in August. We know that the end of this school year is August 31st, and the start of the next school year is September 1st. So how does this play in with a scenario like this when somebody reaches 630 hours worked in August? So what the SEBB board is going to look at next week says that Karen, if you can anticipate that she's going to work 630 hours in the next school year, she would be eligible for benefits effective 9/1. If and only if she's anticipated to work 630 hours in the next school year. She's not going to be able to make changes to her coverage until, I'm sorry, I just confused myself, so I do apologize about that. But she will have an enrollment September 1st, and then we'll be able to make any changes, of course, during open enrollment as well. So what about Karen reaches 630 hours worked August 5th, but we can't anticipate that she's going to work 630 hours in the next school year. Karen's not going to be eligible for benefits September 1st. So it really is still dependent on what's going to happen in the next school year. Now, let's talk about another circumstance that could come up with Karen. Because as I mentioned, when I started this scenario, we do have that third option when we're asking if an employee is anticipated to work 630 hours, right? We have that 2-year look back. So Karen reaches 630 hours worked on August 5th. Hey, we looked at her schedule and we saw that, yeah, last year she also reached 630 hours in that school year. She reached it this school year, and we know next school year she's returning to the same type of position. So Karen is presumed eligible for benefits starting September 1st. And again, as we talked about for this, when the SEBB program started, you, as the SEBB organization, can rebuke that by notifying the school employee in writing of the specific reasons why the employee is not anticipated to work 630 hours in the upcoming school year.
Hey, Amanda, we got a few questions here on transfers. So they're asking if an employee doesn't tell you that they're getting ready to transfer to another SEBB org and you terminate them, will it cause a problem? And again, the idea would be once the employee's leaving to ask them, are you transferring? And if they tell you no, there's nothing you can do but to term them. And we'll just work with that school district to try to get them back into the system with the new school district. So how do you handle substitutes who hit 6:30 but are no longer working and will not work for the remainder of the school year? So once they reach that 6:30, they're good till the end of the school year, which is August 31st. Is the employer made aware that a transfer employee's medical plan is not available in order to allow them to make changes? So hopefully that employee will let you know that my plan is not available in this new school district that I'm in now, and I need to submit a special open enrollment to change plans. Okay.
Thank you, Robert. I was able to get a drink of water, take a breath for a second, so I appreciate that. Okay, here's a couple examples that we've had a lot of questions about. So we have Susan, and Susan is an eligible employee at Davenport School District. Susan is placed on approved FMLA in August of 2020. That approved FMLA lasts until October 16th. Now we know FMLA, she stays on benefits. It is a protected leave. Susan is anticipated to work 630 hours in the new school year. So benefits continue, no new elections. Of course, coming back October 16th, right around the corner is open enrollment. So she could make new elections for the upcoming plan year, effective January 1st. No action has to be taken in SEBB My Account. Remember, for those eligible employees who are continuing on from this school year to next school year, no action needs to be taken in SEBB My Account. Now we have Julie. Julie works for Zillah School District and is an eligible school employee, receives the employer contribution. Julie is placed on approved FMLA and paid family medical leave, PFML, in August of 2020. Julie's FMLA leave lasts until October 30th. The paid family medical leave extends beyond FMLA for another 4 weeks, and that ends November 27th of 2020. Now, when the paid family medical leave ends, Julie then goes on approved leave without pay through March 10th. When would Julie's coverage end? Well, Julie's coverage ends November 30th, the last day of the month after that paid family medical leave runs out, because you can no longer anticipate that she's going to reach 630 hours this school year. We just approved her leave without pay to run through March 10th, and so we're looking at her schedule and saying, I can't anticipate she's going to reach that 630 hours. So Julie's coverage ends November 30th. Now, I said that approved leave without pay was approved through March 10th. Well, Julie returns to work on March 10th of 2021. Now, per the SEBB resolution 2020-02, Julie's date of eligibility is March 10th. And why is that? The SEBB resolution that passed by the SEBB board states, effective January 1st of this year, school employees who return from approved leave without pay will establish eligibility for the employer contribution if their work schedule, had it been in effect at the start of the school year, would have resulted in the employee being anticipated to work that 630 hours to meet SEBB eligibility. So in this circumstance, Julie's date of eligibility is March 10th, and her benefits would begin April 1st.
I have a question here, Amanda. So this question is, all of our teachers report to work in August. New teachers report to work the second week of August, but their first day of school is on September 2nd. Will new teachers be eligible for coverage from the date of hire? So these teachers would be eligible for date of coverage on September 1st, and their coverage would also begin September 1st. We do have another webinar in 2 weeks that's going to talk about some updates for COVID. So we're getting a few questions on that as well. And we hope to have more information by then. Okay.
Thank you. I think the important thing to note with those, of course, you're going to have employees that are hired those last couple weeks of August for the next upcoming school year, that when somebody starts in August, they're not going to be able to reach 630 hours by the end of August, right? And so it would be whatever their first day of work is in the next school year. So if you hired somebody August 25th and the first day of school was September 2nd, if their first day of work was September 1st, they would be eligible September 1st. All right, we're just going to do some brief reminders about what we need to do in SEBB My Account as we approach the end of the school year. So we talked about terminating those employees who are leaving our SEBB organization or are not going to be eligible for SEBB benefits in the next school year. So we want to enter that termination reason and the termination effective date. Once we enter both of those, we see this message pop up with that very faint light gray button that says terminate coverage. I have a request into our IT department to maybe change that button color so we can see it a lot better. Just know that this message and the terminate coverage button does not populate until both the termination reason and the effective date are entered. And in order to actually terminate coverage for an employee, you do have to select the terminate coverage button as seen on this screen. That's the only way it's going to actually go through and terminate the coverage. If we were just to enter the reason and the date, and at the bottom of the page we hit save on the account, it's not going to terminate their coverage. Also, if we know, like our wonderful employee Jeff earlier today, he went and told his BA at Auburn that he was moving to Kent. And so we go into this transfer subscriber, we enter the transfer effective date for Jeff as August 31st. Again, we are not going to see this question or the gray transfer subscriber button populate until we actually enter that transfer effective date. So for our employees who we know are transferring to a new SEBB organization, go ahead and enter that effective date in the transfer subscriber box. All right, let's talk about some resources based on our presentation today. We have that SEBB Benefits Administrator website for you guys. A ton of resources, all of these recorded webinars are there for you to go back. Maybe you don't want to watch it again, but maybe you're hiring a new benefits administrator and you want to get them up to speed. It's a great opportunity for them to learn. Hopefully it's a great opportunity. Hopefully we're doing a good job for you guys. Ton of resources on that website for you. We have our outreach and training customer service. We have that phone number for the more urgent matters. And of course, the Fuse secure messaging system, which hopefully you're all very used to working in. Again, a good reminder, if you are hiring new benefits administrators, help them get set up in Fuse. That's another thing you'll want them to do along with filling out that admin appointment form. And also we talked about that SEBB board resolution that they're looking at for somebody who reaches 630 hours worked in August. If you have any further questions about the SEBB board, when they meet, you can go to this link here. It is on the Healthcare Authority website under the Employee and Retiree Benefits section. There is a page for the SEBB board, and you can see the agenda for the meetings and the meeting materials as well, all the presentations that they do. And there's usually a call-in number for those board meetings as well if you wanted to call in and listen or even have your voice be heard. So it's a great opportunity. And here is that benefits administrator website. So we talked about SEBB My Account quite a bit today and those actions that we have to take. Just a reminder that we do have SEBB My Account manuals available for you guys. So here on the screen under quick reference guides and training, there is a manuals section. If we click on that, you'll see there's 3 chapters and an appendix for the SEBB My Account manuals. The appendix does have the information about uploading eligibility files for our newly eligible employees in the next school year. So keep an eye on those. They do get updated. And so hopefully you find those useful. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you have somebody new coming on that in your SEBB organization and you guys are looking for some additional training on SEBB My Account, these manuals are a great place to start. Again, we also do have some recorded webinars. And if there's anything further that you have questions on, you can send us a few as well. So Robert earlier mentioned that we do have a webinar for changes related to COVID-19 coming up, and we do. Here is our upcoming schedule. We told you guys to stay tuned, and here is the schedule. So we have May 15th, that COVID-19 webinar. On May 29th, we're going to do the C&D series worksheets. June 12th, we're going to talk about special open enrollment events. So go into a little bit more detail about what changes can be made during certain special open enrollment events. June 26th, we're going to talk about retirement and accounting and billing. The end of July, July 31st, we're going to go over error correction. And then August 14th, we're going to talk about preparing for the upcoming school year. So we stuck with Fridays. I know it's not every other Friday like we have been doing, but we did stick with Friday mornings at 10 a.m. So hopefully that schedule works. We tried to stay away from the 3rd week of the month so we don't interrupt your guys' payroll time. But here is the upcoming schedule. So all those links are live to register for now.
All right. So again, we're addressing questions throughout the webinar, and if we don't get to your question, we will definitely reply through email or through Fuse, or we'll give you a call to answer your question. So if you have specific questions or scenarios specific to your SEBB organizations, please send those through Fuse. So we're going to take a look at a few questions here, see if we can answer a few. So here's one. Do you want to share? Thing just flipped on me. Just a minute. Do you want to share with the other webinar attendees that some districts are adding a line on their separation form to ask if the employee is transferring to another school district? So that's a good idea. If the employee doesn't want to tell you, they can fill out that form, they can check that block. That way you know they're transferring instead of terminating them. Somebody wanted us to share the retiree number, and this number is for retirees and those employees on continuation coverage. The number is 1-800-200-1004. Here's a question here. Can we enter the transfer subscriber date in June if we know that they are separating August 31st, or do we have to wait until July 1st to enter in the SEBB My Account? So we recommend that you enter it the month prior or the month of when you're entering information dates into SEBB My Account.
Yeah, to add on to that, it's not going to let you enter an 8/31 date in June. So the soonest you could do it is July 1st for an 8/31 date.
Here's a question here. If the first day of school is August 27th, do I enter that date or 9/1 for the first day of school? So I would enter the 9/1, September 1st, which starts the new school year.
They can enter the August date if that is their first day of school.
But benefits, they won't start benefits until September 1st, correct?
Correct. First day of the school year, or our defined school year, which is September 1st through August 31st. But if their first day of school for all schools in their SEBB organization is a date in August, that date can be input into the system. Should we take a moment to say thank you to everybody as you're reviewing the questions, Robert?
Yeah.
All right. So we just have a few minutes left in the webinar today. I want to thank you all for attending. I know Robert's trying to read through the questions and see what we can answer for you guys, but thank you for attending today. And anything that we did not address, we will be getting back to you, as Robert mentioned at the beginning, via phone or email or Fuse. So if you did not get your questions answered today, we will reach out to you. So for those of you who are signing off, want to say thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a great weekend. And we look forward to being with you again in the next couple of months. So get out there and register for those upcoming webinars, and hopefully you guys are getting some fresh air and trying to make the best of our situation these days. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for joining us this Friday. Enjoy the weather. It's sunny outside where I live. So I hope you all get out, ride bikes, walk in the park, get some fresh air out there, and stay healthy. We will see you guys on the next webinar.